I'm Pete Zelinski. We are doing a series of videos on misconceptions in laser powder bed fusion. We are trying to demythologize DMLS, Direct Metal Laser Solidification, looking at what may have been true or assumed to be true in the past, 10 years ago, versus what's true now because of how far this technology has come, this metal 3D printing technology for production. I'm with Ankit Saharan. He is the Director of Metals Technology for the Additive Minds group with the OS. Hi, Ankit.
Hello, Pete.
So we're going to talk about materials now and the perception, true or not, that the material availability is limited for laser powder bed fusion. And when we talk about misperceptions that are maybe rooted in the past, this is the one with the clearest link to the past, because over a decade ago, there was a limited range of materials available. This process would work in titanium 6-4, some Inconels, cobalt chrome. But since then, there has been over a decade of material development. So can you take us to the present? Where are we now, and what is the state of material availability for metal 3D printing through DMLS?
I think you're right. Like back in the day, the workhorses were your cobalt chromes, some Inconel 718 and Ti 6-4, to where now we have more than 30 plus materials just from EOS. I'm not even talking third-party materials. You do that, I think you come across 40, 50 materials that you can bring in from all third-party sites. With that, you have a huge choice in terms of material that opens up a whole nother envelope in terms of what's possible. On the flip side, I do agree, we're not comparable in material choices to traditional castings, but they have a head start of like a century or two from additives. And I think where additive is right now is fueling what I would call a material renaissance a little bit. Now we're into a whole lot of new material that are now coming into play, a whole lot of new chemistries, a whole lot of new material grades now coming into play that didn't come before. And that's keeping me very excited because with new material, I always say that becomes new application. There's materials that are driving application, not the other way around.
And you're painting a picture not of limitation, but of this expanded possibility because of all of the material development.
One of the materials, the copper nickel, this was coming to us at a time from the US Navy. It's a marine alloy. There's not really an alloy that can really compete because it has to meet a certain marine corrosion performance and everything. The speed of the additive process, the flexibility, the freedom of the additive process allows you to do material research in a quick way. And we were able to bring this alloy from a concept to a full-scale commercial solution in less than 9 months, which is like tremendous speed for any manufacturing technology to bring a material to a commercial device. The other alloy is one of our high-strength aluminum alloys that can very well compare with and sometimes even surpasses 6000 series strength. It provides you with the same corrosion performance, sometimes even better. And more often than not, this is anodized, not painted. When we designed this alloy, it was mainly intended for aerospace application. With the anodized coating, we've got customers saying that, oh, from the automotive side, can I use this part for niche applications for small series where the color looks beautiful and the customers want it? We start with something and we end up completely different. Material possibilities are endless.
Someone might say, sure, there are all these materials available, including some new material possibilities, but these are all additive versions of the metals. These are not the materials that I'm accustomed to. What do you say to that?
You have the same grades of alloys even on the traditional side. You would have a same alloy. We're talking about copper nickel. There's a copper nickel alloy, which is for casting, and there's a copper nickel alloy, which is for forging. The additive is no different. We're trying really hard to meet customer expectation on what they need in terms of final part performance.
One of the points you're making is materials have always been process dependent. Every metal we use is tuned to some process where it's intended to be applied.
We did a case study some time back within our team where we showed that copper chrome zirconium, it's C18150, 18150. We showed that with parameter control, we're using 2 different parameter set, I can achieve 2 different properties. I can either go for high strength or lower conductivity, or I can go for low strength, high conductivity. It's the same material. The way I achieve that is by basically controlling the process parameters. From the added side, we're not just inventing or giving users the choice of new materials, but we're also giving users choices on new ways to use existing materials in a way that they've never thought of before. We keep on adding new and new materials, whether it's your nickel superalloys, hard to weld, non-weldable like 247, or we going on the refractory side. Every material we make available unlocks 10 or 15 applications right there. And I think that's the freedom that I'm personally very excited about.
Thanks for watching. We've done other installments on laser powder bed fusion and what it's capable of today. Check out other videos in this series.